I'm going to make a bread recipe, so a couple loaves of bread plus a pizza crust for our dinner tonight. And so for that we need flour, and that's in my big canister there, some salt, 2 teaspoons of sugar, some yeast, some warm water, and some olive oil. I also use regular oil to grease up the pans. So let's get started. The recipe I'm using, I am doubling. So to my Bosch mixer, I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of yeast, which turns out to be one of these packets. I didn't know that, or didn't remember that. 2 teaspoons of sugar and warm water. And I just use tap water for that. Just going to give it a quick mix and then let it sit for a few minutes so that yeast will activate. It's been about 20 minutes and our yeast and water is nice and frothy and bubbly. So to this, I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of salt, four tablespoons of olive oil, or regular vegetable oil will work. I've used that before when I don't have olive oil. And the recipe says 8 cups of flour. It says bread flour, but I always just use all-purpose flour, white flour. I usually start at about 6 or 7. It never, and now I've lost count. I think that's 4. Anyway, I usually start at about 6 or 7 and then mix it up, and then if it needs more I can add it from there. Okay, I'm going to start, put my Bosch on a 1 and then put it to 3. And it needs another cup. That's about right, but the more you let it knead, the wetter the dough will get. So I'm just going to put a little bit more flour in here. And then I'm going to let it knead on the 3rd speed, on 3, for about 5 minutes. And this always, I have to hold this. I'm afraid it's going to walk its way off my counter if I don't. Okay, and this looks nice. See how the dough has pulled away from the walls of the bowl of the mixer, and it's a little sticky, but pretty much I can do this and it doesn't stay on my hands. So this is what you want. If your dough is too dry, all you'd need to do is just add a little bit of water, but add it a teaspoon or a tablespoon at a time so as to not get it too wet. If it was too wet, then just add a little bit more flour. So I'm going to grease a bowl here and put it in a bowl. So I'm just taking the vegetable oil, or you can use olive oil, and pouring a little bit into this big bowl, large bowl that I have. And then I also coat my hands with it. And you'll remember to take your rings off. I didn't, but it shouldn't be a problem. Not going to be handling it very much right at this point. So I've taken it out of the mixer bowl, the Bosch bowl, and I've made it into a ball. And then I put it down and kind of swish it around and then flip it so that as it rises, I'll have oil on it and it won't stick to the bowl. Now if you had a clean tea towel that you didn't mind getting oil on, you could put that over this. I always just use 2 lengths of plastic wrap, and I can use them later when I'm letting the bread rise in the bread pans as well. Okay, we're just going to let that double in size. It probably should take an hour or 2, and I can wash up the dishes. So here is the dough once it's risen. It's doubled in size, and we're going to punch it down. So I've been trying to decide whether I was going to make two loaves of bread and 1 pizza, or 1 loaf of bread and 2 pizzas. So you can spray it if you'd rather. You usually just put a little bit of vegetable oil in here. Now with our bread, we need to punch it down. Now this This recipe makes 1 loaf of bread, and I usually double it, and I get 3 out of it. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. Kind of folded it under and pinched it. And then I'm just going to put it in the loaf pan there. Put a tiny bit of oil on top of it. I don't want a huge amount. And then this goes back in the corner to raise. But our pizza dough now, and I never roll it out. What I usually do is just pat it down in the pan. But I'd like to try for a thinner crust this time, and maybe it won't happen. I don't know. Let's just see what happens by doing it this way. See other people on YouTube and they roll their crust out. And I've got a pizza pan here. And I sprayed that with cooking spray. Okay, there's the second crust. Now, I don't think I told you, this recipe I got years ago off of the internet, off of Martha Stewart's website. And it's called Patricia's Basic Bread Dough. And it's always, oh look, that one's going into a heart. It's always worked really well. I use it for my cinnamon buns, cinnamon rolls, regular just yeast rolls. What else? Lemon rolls, orange rolls, the pizza crust. Okay. This pizza pan isn't as big or as pretty, but it for years. Okay. So my reason for making pizza is that I had some sauce left over in the freezer from spaghetti a while ago. And then we also got one of these marinara sauces when we got pizza a couple of weeks ago, so I'm going to use that also. Maybe I'm not going to have enough. I think I will. Okay, this has meat in it, as you can see. And then I also have some leftover hamburger from the other night. Well, I'm going to go ahead and use more of this sauce. If I have to, I can open just a little tomato sauce, can of tomato sauce, and that works. Okay, I have some leftover onions here from when we made the taco soup. I'm going to cut some tomatoes up, put that on, put some bacon, par-cooked some bacon, put that on. Have some of this kielbasa that I saved from last night. This is just that Fiesta blend of cheese from Walmart. But you use whatever kind of cheese you like, mozzarella or whatever. I have these little tomatoes and I squeeze the juice out of them into the sink so that it wouldn't be so wet on the pizza. I have some basil outside. I should go pick that. I'm going to put that in the oven on 425. I'm not sure for sure how long, probably 15 minutes, but we'll see how long it takes. It's just the two of us, but this will make a nice quick meal some night. Okay, this is that marinara sauce from Domino's. You know, I think with the tomatoes on there, I think that's just fine. I just can't get it very even. That's the only thing. I think that's enough. I'm not gonna open another can, because then I'd have to find something to get rid of that can, the rest of that. I think this will be fine. Put the onions, the kielbasa, the bacon, and I got more cheese out of the freezer, but I think that's probably enough. I don't know. So if you hate tomatoes, you're probably horrified by this. Okay, so we're just waiting for that other pizza to finish, and then we'll put this one in. And we're waiting for our bread dough, our loaf of bread to rise. And then we'll bake that at 350 for I think 30 minutes. Here's our bread, our loaf of bread. That's doing well, it's rising. It's warmer in the kitchen now because they turned the AC off, so it's rising a lot faster than it did in the bowl. We have 4 minutes left on our pizza in the oven, and that's doing well. And we've got another one to go in. Here's our finished pizza. So I will probably put the other one in the freezer for another night. I probably could have gotten 4 pizzas out of that. 4, possibly even 5 if they'd been thinner crust, out of the double batch of bread dough. So just for future reference. But I was able to get a loaf of bread and 2 pizzas. And it didn't take very long. I started at like 3:15, a little bit after 3, and it's 6:15 now. And here they both are. Kind of went crazy with the tomatoes. But you leave them off if you don't like them. I was trying to use up some tomatoes that we had. The bread is almost ready to go in. In fact, I'll probably put it in a few minutes. This is after an hour of sitting and rising. And here's the bread. It baked for I think 32 minutes. Probably could have been a little more brown. But I'll let that cool and then cut into it. So this is the bread. I've cut it and we're going to taste test it. Thank you for joining me today for baking bread and making pizza. Goodbye.